Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan. It's time for the Marvel Mania Phase 2 after show. And look, it's my illustrious co-host, once again, DJ Martinez. DJ, such a sad, I'm sure this will be a really fun show, but I said this when we finished, officially finished Phase 2 Marvel Mania. It's a sad moment. Now we got the logos back, and you did a whole new thing for this, which is super cool of you, and I'm feeling it all over again, man.
I can't let go of it. It's like we're like those people that clearly finish the series and then come back and make these just horrible sequels that no one wants, but we just make it for ourselves.
Yeah, you know what? I've got an even more apt analogy, and I'll wait till you're drinking. You know what we are? We're Tiger King.
Oh, when they came back with that, just an interview episode?
That really awkward COVID interview special?
That's right. That's what we are. Oh, man.
That's exactly what we've been reduced to this. Anyway, welcome, folks. Thanks a lot for being here. We are broadcasting on a normal Captain Logan show night. This is basically like a lead-in topic for a Captain Logan show. It will, I'm sure, go a little bit longer than that. But we decided to do this on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday, just because usually Thursday is our kind of bigger Captain Logan show night. We thought some folks would be interested in this who maybe didn't, show up for a lot of the Marvel Manias and would just like kind of a quick recap. We're obviously not going to talk about each of these movies at length again. We've done that. We've talked at the length that each of them were while watching them, and we're not going to do full-on reviews or anything. So we'll try to keep it brief, and we'll try to keep even our this is the reason why parts brief. But we'll give you a little bit of an inkling into our thought process in our rankings. So there were 15 movies, and most of them were MCU. Some of them were Fox X-Men things, and one of them was a Sony live-action Spider-Man thing, not related to Spider-Man, but probably eventually will be. That was fun. And then the other one is an animated Sony Spider-Man thing that has lots of Spider-Man in it and no Venoms at all.
Yes, one of surprising number of Spider-Man things for the only 3 years that this ran. It was so weird.
And kind of wild that we ended up doing I think we had one sequel to a movie that we did in this phase. I believe I'm right about that. We had Homecoming, and then we had Far From Home, and I don't think anything else on this list was like that. Was a direct sequel besides Endgame and Infinity War, but strike that, reverse it. But those were only a year apart from each other, and originally were said to be kind of one movie split up until the Russos decided it wasn't that anymore, and they gave it two different names.
Yeah, it's a weird phase, man. The amount of movies that we crammed into just 2018 through, or 2017 through 2019 is insane.
Yeah, it really, superhero movies, they go through phases. They go through very strange phases, and we arbitrarily latch on to a period of it and say that is a phase, and somehow there's some kind of quantifiable pattern that you can find.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's gonna be hard. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but this ranking in some parts was very arbitrary for me.
It was bizarre to try to put together, and there's a part of me that actually wants to go first to last instead of last to first.
I think, I mean, I'm game for whatever you want to do.
I wonder if we shouldn't do that. I think that might be smart.
I don't know. Maybe the chat can tell us. I know there was a lot of talk in the beginning of what they want. They were talking about what they wanted to be number one. So maybe they are looking forward to see what we think is the best. But yeah, I almost think it would be, because that was easier for me. When I got to the bottom, I was like, well, I don't know what order to put these. I don't like any of them.
I had that too. I could get up tomorrow and decide that order is completely different than it is now. So just know that. I mean, that's disclaimer one. Disclaimer two is these are, of course, our opinions and our feelings on this and our rankings based on the experiences that we just recently had with these movies. Totally subjective to our own interests, of course. And so your list is liable to vary a lot from ours, and DJ's list is liable to vary at least some from mine. I imagine the very top and maybe the very bottom will be really similar, although I don't know that for sure. In fact, I do know for sure that your very, very bottom will not be my very, very bottom.
Yeah, probably.
But that's because I changed it 6 times.
Yeah, and I know the bottom, but like the ones right after that, I'm still thinking. I still don't know what I'm gonna say. It's up in the air because
You're changing it right now.
I'm still arguing with myself.
You're still mixing it right. Wow, that's crazy. So anyway, as always, guys, we're going to treat this as, because obviously we're not doing a commentary tonight, so we're going to treat this as kind of an episode of the Captain Logan Show, even though it's under the Marvel Mania banner. So what I'm going to ask you to do is if you have a question about this particular topic, the topic being the latter, couple 3 years of movies based on Marvel properties, these 15 movies that we're going to talk about is primarily what we'd like to chat about and just give our kind of final thoughts on, or Marvel Mania itself, just that show and the experience of doing it, and really just MCU and Fox X-Men at large too. Any of that stuff would be the things that we'd most like to get questions about tonight. If you guys would like to participate, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will guarantee that we talk about your topics or at least read your comment and discuss it for a second. And if you don't want to do that or can't do that, leave a pre-written question and we'll do our level best to get to at least a few of those. But no promises tonight because we do have to do this ranking thing, and we're going to try to keep it to an hour, as close to that as we can. I've got After Dark right after this, and tonight on After Dark, we're going to have a real long one. We're going to be watching not one but two movies, two relatively not great superhero and geeky things. We're going to start with the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then we're going to watch Superman 4. I did a poll last week where I said which of those is the better movie, and I thought it would be fun to watch them both together. Why not? It would be really amusing. And Brandon and Austin both have not seen at least one of those, so it will be blind commentaries for those guys. And Jason really wants to be on the first one, on the Mario one, so we may have like a swearing embargo at the beginning of the first half of that show. But I don't know for sure if that's happening, but that's the plan right now. Anyway, guys, give me just 1 second because I wanted to pull something up real quick. Hang on. I meant to do this before the show started, and I totally spaced it. DJ, I'm looking for...
I'll just sing a song.
There it is. I wanted to pull up your archive so that everybody could see your beautiful art again.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Just 8 shades of spectacular. So I'm gonna pull that up right now without our faces blocking it even. And so this is all the art that DJ did for Marvel Mania, and I just wanted to read down these movies again in case you don't remember what we did. So I'll just show you these, all of the thumbs that DJ made for these, and then we'll go ahead and rank them. So we started with Logan, and then we did. Oh, you've got these. Let's see. So you have these tiered. So I actually can't remember what was in exactly what order, but I think it was Guardians and then Homecoming, but I can't remember.
It was
Thor: The Dark World, and then Black Panther, and then Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I feel like I'm taking a really easy trivia quiz right now. Venom, which was one of my favorite thumbnails. That was absolutely hysterical. And then we've got, the Spider-Verse, Captain Marvel. It seemed like the ones that we most were like lukewarm on or disliked ended up getting some of the best thumbnails. And then Endgame, and then Dark Phoenix, Spider-Man Far From Home, and last but probably maybe least, we had New Mutants. So let's go ahead and start the ranking show right now. DJ, traditionally we've always started at the bottom. I think we will do that. Even though that's where, because it'll be more entertaining for people if we flounder at the beginning. Maybe we'll either keep more folks watching live, or more people will leave when they hear their favorite movies at the bottom of the list. But
that's true.
Unless you really want to veto me on this and you like my first idea, I think we'll start at the bottom.
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
that's what I was planning on, because that's what we usually do.
That's what we usually do. Yeah.
Which means I have to come up with my actual list faster.
Hey, look, DJ, you had one piece of homework, and this was your idea, by the way.
I know, and I thought I had it, but I'm second guessing myself. And I really am, based on what you said at the beginning, I really am trying to get into the mindset of just this viewing. I want it to be, because they would have been very different based on my first viewings, but just this viewing of me and you watching it together, I'm really trying to focus on that, so that's kind of what it is.
I will say my list has to be different than it would have if I weren't influenced by your company and by the company of the viewers and just the particular experience we had together watching these and talking about them.
Yeah. You want me to go first?
Absolutely. Yeah, go right
My
ahead.
number 15, no surprise to anyone who has heard us talk about this movie. Mine is, and I'll say this really quick. Sorry, one more really quick, like
Disclaimer.
to, yeah, disclaimer. A lot of people say the worst thing a movie can be is forgettable. For me, no. I would much rather watch just like a forgettable, like dull movie. For me, the worst thing a movie can be is annoying. So that's going to show on my list. You'll see that I have some more annoying movies lower than some that I just will that I'll never think of again. And another thing you'll see on my list is that comedy that doesn't work is much more annoying to me than just like other stuff that doesn't work. So you'll see this will be very clear as soon as I start. But my number one is Thor Ragnarok. I didn't like anything about that
He
movie.
means his number 15. He means the first one he's mentioning
Yes.
because we're talking about our wars.
Yes, my number 15 is Thor Ragnarok. This is a better made movie than some of the other ones, like technically, but just like I personally didn't like anything about this movie, and it like makes me angry that I think it's so annoying, but everyone else loves it. So it just like in my head, I'm gonna have like a worse memory of this movie than like something that I'm just gonna forget about. So that's my number 15.
And we want to thank all the subscribers that we just lost for following us as long as you did. I could not put Ragnarok at the bottom, and I mean I kicked it around and it felt weird not doing that because I feel the same way DJ does about it. But I tend to think more narrative first than anything, and it's difficult for me not to make a list like this based on first how well I think the thing pulled off what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't want what Ragnarok gave me. I also think that it cheated about some things. It wants us to think that it is a better narrative than it is. So that is why it will end up as low as it will on my list. And no one will be surprised when I say it ain't high on my list. But I couldn't put it at the end because there are a couple of movies that just feel unfinished and don't feel like complete stories to me, and with characters that as much or more than Ragnarok, feel completely out of character to me. Although now that I'm saying that, I'm kind of fighting with myself in my head a little bit. I'm not. It's weird because like the ones I'm most passionately angry about, if I can even say that, the ones that annoyed me when I was watching them and made me most ticked off are actually not even at the bottom of my list because I just felt like things like a Fantastic is in sort of a different category. You've got these kind of unfinished movies, so I couldn't help but put Dark Phoenix at the bottom. And it's not even a
Yeah.
passionate bottom. Like Xavier's not Xavier in that movie. It's unfinished. It's way too short. When it ends, you're like, oh wait, that was it. Like I don't know. I felt like I was watching a trailer for a potentially sort of okay movie that was still directed by an incompetent director. Ragnarok at least has competent directing and production value, and you didn't factor that into yours at all. It sounds like, but I have a hard time not doing that. For me, it's like a whole
No, yeah.
package deal, and so yeah, so I couldn't help it. That's what wound up at the bottom. I don't feel good about it though.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Like, obviously, I know that Dark Phoenix is like the least movie of any of these, but like, I'm just trying to think of these, like, which one I would watch first, like, completely subjectively.
Yeah.
Which one would I want to put in the player first? But even for the bottom, like 6 or 7, it had to be like, which one would I hate
But
watching
then when you
first?
say that, I think I may have sort of also done that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
I actually think I would watch Ragnarok again before Dark Phoenix, just because, again, we need to move on.
Yeah,
It
me
really,
too.
it really, I don't think it works at all, and I don't want to watch it. But Dark Phoenix, I wouldn't even think to put in. It just wouldn't even occur to me that was a thing. I have to keep reminding myself that happened.
Yeah, and Dark Phoenix is my number 14. So we'll just jump right into that.
Sure.
Yeah, everything you said. There's nothing good about it. I mean, at least it was kind of fun to commentary on because we were laughing through it, and just making fun of it about the ridiculousness. But other than that, yeah, it's my number 14.
The next one on my list is New Mutants for all those same reasons. I had to couple those together. I didn't see any way around it. Again, it's that Fantastic thing where, like more so than Dark Phoenix, it seemed like there was potential there, and I think it's actually the potential that hurts it. As much as it does, but then it ends up being just a really weak, forgettable sort of experience. that for superhero movies was a surprise because it was in such a different subgenre or genre depending on how you want to look at it. Horror being a like superhero being at that point the subgenre of horror. I don't know, but. At the end of the day, it also felt really unfinished and has a awful ending, and it starts with some unbelievable premises that where the internal logic is broken before it even gets out of the gate. So
13 is where I lose everyone.
Oh, I bet.
This is just me personally.
Oh my God, how high is New Mutants going to be on his list? I'm really curious to see that. Yeah, go ahead.
This movie really annoys me personally. I didn't even think I talked about it during the commentary, but I had a very visceral reaction to this movie in the theater. It made me feel like gross. I don't know, something about the arrow scene. Yeah, I won't even get into it, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Wow, that low?
I mean, I know it's obviously a better made movie, but it gets on my nerves. And like I said, comedy that really, really annoys me when it's like, because every scene ends with a terrible joke in that movie, and it like grates on me, and I don't want to have that experience ever again. So, sorry guys.
What I found trying to rank these is that about half this list I don't really care for all that much, or in some of them, like, I had a fun experience enough when I first saw them, but I don't really need to ever go back and see them again. Because the movies on this list that are great or really great are some of, in my mind, and in a Superhero Rewind that I wrote, some of the best superhero movies ever made. The ones in the middle to the bottom are just like really unfortunately weak.
No, I remember when we first started this, we were like walking, we were like flying high, man. It was like Logan and then Homecoming. We're like, this is gonna be great. And then the bad ones just kept coming and we never got out of it. I was like, oh, this is mostly movies that I would have never watched again if it wasn't for Marvel.
I didn't think about it until we first started doing this, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, in the last couple of years, we've just had a lot of mediocre to duds in superhero movies in general, I think. I think part of the reason that a lot of things are so polarizing, you look at Aquaman even and things like that, like even outside of Marvel, and a lot of it is stuff that was just okay to a lot of people and maddeningly disappointing to a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. And that's where it got polarizing. A lot of those things are not. There aren't a lot of people walking around talking about how, like, they're brilliant. They're some of the greatest superhero movies ever made, and they challenged them, and or even they're some of the most entertaining. It was and like there are people that love Aquaman, but I think that with that movie in particular, and a couple other things on this list, like maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp, you had people that are like, yeah, that was fun, and then they'll probably never mention it to anyone again, and that's polarizing now.
Yeah, well, that's my 13. What's your less controversial pick?
Well, it's funny you say that, because it won't be. It'll just be more controversial than it'll just be less controversial than where you picked it, I guess. But Ragnarok is my 13.
Oh, yeah. No, that's perfect. Perfect place for it. Anywhere in the bottom 5 is great.
Number 12. We are starting to get some super chats rolling in, and we're already at 20 minutes, so we better start really blowing through these.
No problem, because I have nothing to say about this movie. Number 12 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Maybe I feel bad because I didn't watch it before we did the Mania. Maybe I would have had a little bit more to say about it, but it's a nothing movie.
Was that the only one?
That's the only one I didn't rewatch. I felt kind of bad about it.
That's all right. It was not a prerequisite until DJ decided it was. And then I started rewatching them all myself as well. My number 12, this is the first one that we've lined up totally on, is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep. It's not horrible enough to be at the bottom, but it's not anywhere near the top. It's just bleh. Number 12. Perfect place for it.
Pretty disappointing to me, because I was excited to see what we would end up doing with the character of Janet. And then, like, it's not just the actress. Like, I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought that was a brilliant choice. But then you get... but like, I also, in the first movie was curious to see what we would ultimately do with her. And then you got that casting. And then we spend the whole movie just trying to find her, and that should have been the end of the first act. I still think. And then beyond that, it was just a lot of, like, kind of mediocre to just okay jokes. Like I laughed a little bit here and there, but it wasn't worth the overall experience to me. And the placement in the MCU was also sort of problematic, I think. Because I'm not saying that everything had to be super hugely epic right then, but like, I don't know, did you want that much of like a throwaway, you kind of forget movie immediately after Infinity War? Like, it's kind of fun that, the next thing would be somewhat inconsequential, but it still could have felt consequential to Ant-Man, you know what I mean? Like, it still should have been a more B-movie-ish or like B-list superhero movie like the first one was, absolutely. But I don't know, it and Far From Home both kind of have that. Isn't that weird?
Oh, you're getting to some more rage that I'm.
Is your 11 Far From Home? Did you put Venom above Far From Home?
My number 11 is Deadpool 2.
It's Deadpool. Okay, that's not.
Which might be yours. Is it also yours?
It is not mine.
Okay. Deadpool 2. Yeah. I mean, what is there to say? We kind of had a very bad experience. I actually had a better experience the first time I watched it, but then watching it with you, it was like, yeah. This doesn't hold up at all.
This is where the ranking got really hard for me because it was difficult. I was kind of fighting the more recent experience I had versus what was, in my head about the thing in the first place. That movie is probably too high. The next thing I wrote down, this could all change tomorrow.
Yeah, all of these could be interchangeable. Just take that with a grain of salt. I'm really trying to.
Because again, I'm always fighting entertainment value versus quality of storytelling and narrative and also production value. Like, all of these things when I'm trying to rank something are kind of fighting each other. So what I wrote down, the next one is actually Venom. And it's kind of crazy that in my brain right now that I put that as low as I did, but like it's fun in places, but like I think story-wise it's not as good as some of these other movies that I still don't really like that much. And it has production value problems.
Yeah, of course it does.
I just couldn't bring myself to put a 2006 superhero movie released in whatever that came out, 17, 18, any higher. I don't know.
It's hard, man. This was an exercise for me. I'm really, really trying to base it just on the experience we had on the commentaries and take out any other factors. Because my next one, number 10, is Spider-Man Far From Home.
Whoa! Okay, so my mind is blown that you put Captain Marvel above that movie.
Like I said, Captain Marvel is dull, and and obviously the story is non-existent in Captain Marvel. But I'm saying, based on something I would want to watch,
it was 19. Some of these years are starting to run together for me just a little bit.
And what's his name? Solar Dragon brought up something that was as important in my ranking too. Is level of disappointment also factors.
Sure.
And Far From Home, I loved Homecoming so much, and I was so on board with it, and it just annoys me, like that humor that we were talking about, just the meandering all over the place, like nothingness of the story. It really bugs me. So
Daniel Davis says that my mind is going. Well, we keep having to do these shows a little bit later at night. So yeah, but
yeah, that's what Marvel Mania did.
But in my defense, I don't think my mind is going. I think with recent movies, especially when this many things all come out around the same time, I always have this. Once I start like doing rewinds on things and spending more time with them, the year tends to lock in a little bit better. And I haven't had a chance to do rewinds on most of these. Have I done rewinds on any of these? I don't think I have.
They're all pretty recent.
Oh, no, I haven't. But anyway, yeah, and it's funny you say that real quick too, because Venom, I actually ended up enjoying more than I thought I would based on the trailers, but it's still not what I want. It's still not great, Yeah. So my next one is Captain Marvel. I did put that above Venom. I think it is a technically better movie and better story, even though I don't think its protagonist has a real character arc, and there's some fun to be had in it, and it's got some witty dialogue, and of course, like always, it's got, like almost always, it's got really good production values. It's one of the better looking movies more recently from the MCU, I would say. There's not a lot of shoddy stuff in that as far as effects go.
It's got a cool look.
Yeah, and like performances in that are mostly fine. Like, I don't know, but it's kind of dull.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Um, my next one is Venom, and it is so surprising to me that I haven't even that high
Even that high.
because when I first saw this movie in theaters, it would have been below Ragnarok. Like I despise this movie in the theater, but watching it in my bed on my iPad at like 2 in the morning, delirious, and then the next day watching it with you with the goofiness that we did, it just I don't know, it was just fun, and I just have fond memories of that I never would have had if we didn't do Marvel Mania.
So
So that
you
bumped it
so you
way
did
up.
that because you know Venom would eat your head
Yeah, I
off
mean, of
if you
course,
put it at the
keep that.
bottom. You're still honestly risking at least getting some fingers eaten, I think, having it where you have it. But
I know, but I can live without those. I do need a head.
after Captain Marvel, I'm
Shall we turn
looking.
off the stream before you get pitchforked?
We'll be back with a part two for you, folks, next week. No, my next movie is Deadpool 2.
Okay, all right. No drama there. That's
Did you
fine.
think that was going to be lower on my list?
Yes, because you talked very much about how you hated that one.
Well, no, I didn't hate it. It just wasn't as good as I thought it was in the first place, and I don't think it's anything like as good as the first movie. And so I was having a difficult time going to any of my positives when we were doing the commentary on it because a lot more negatives and issues with it and stuff had come to me since then, and that was bogging down the experience and making it a little bit less fun. I mean, keep in mind that the commentaries are not the as somewhat objective as you can be. Reviews as something like a superhero rewind is like you're kind of it's more like a really long feeling it's signed with details, and you're kind of watching your feelings and your appreciation for a thing evolve and grow and change through doing that. That's kind of the exercise. So I don't know. I disliked that movie more after we did it, most certainly, and like I don't know how much higher this would have been after my first viewing of that movie, but I never liked it as well as the first one.
Mhm.
I never liked it as well as Eric did and some other folks. Some of it it's got like Deadpool has a lot of comic sensibilities that aren't mine, but I was surprised by how much stuff that resonated with me humor-wise was in that first movie, and that second one had a lot more of the kind of stuff that I really thought would be in that first one that I didn't care for, particularly the like tiny baby Deadpool thing. I would love to fast forward through that whole scene every single time, and stuff like that. And I won't get into my issues with the ending and the way it cheats with the time travel and all of that, but
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
if
My
some of
next
these
one.
movies were better, it absolutely would be lower on the list. But we had Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we had Ragnarok, and like,
Yeah.
I'm at least, and I don't know how to be consistent about this. I'm at least more entertained watching Deadpool 2 than I am something like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not gonna say that one of those necessarily story-wise makes any more sense than the other. Ant-Man and the Wasp probably does, but I don't know. But it doesn't feel as inconsequential in the same way. It's
Yeah.
impossible to be consistent with this, but
Yeah, just go with your gut. That's all we're doing. Just whatever you feel. And fittingly, mine right in the middle is Captain Marvel. That's my number eight.
right in the middle.
That's what this movie is. It's right in the middle, just mediocre. Like I actually liked it better the first time I watched it as just the ride in the theater, but then like watching it again and watching it with you, it's just like this movie looks good. It's competently made, but it's just nothing there at all to sink my teeth into, which is why the one that's about to be higher than it, though surprising, I at least have more things to think about than I do when I watch Captain Marvel. So that's where Captain Marvel
Sure.
sits.
Far From Home is next on my list. I had
Makes
the
sense.
worst experience with that movie that I ever
Sorry.
have. No, even right before we did the commentary, like I was kind of right there with you. I don't think
It doesn't.
I
It's
agree.
not a
with,
rewatchable movie.
no, I don't think it is either. I agree with all the issues you have with it. I don't think it ticks me off as much as it does you. That's
Oh,
where it gets subjective. But all of your problems with it are my problems with it.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's not fun for me to rewatch. My number seven.
It needed to get more done.
Yeah, it doesn't get enough done for me to get up and put it back in the player. It's like
It's as
gonna
high
sit there
as
on my
it
shelf.
is because the villain is once again brilliantly cast and everything with him is really fun. So like
Yeah,
that
I agree with
saves
that.
it for me as an experience.
Mhm.
but I have to wade through a lot of unfunny scenes and scenes of people just going and having a vacation.
Yeah. It's like the Ragnarok thing, man. It's like we're just paying to watch them goof. I mean, they're not goofing around like the Ragnarok, but just the characters are just going around sightseeing, and we're just supposed to
And
watch.
yet it kind of feels like that too, because when you watch, and I haven't looked at a lot of behind the scenes with that, but the little bit of interviews that I've seen with some of those actors, they do talk about how cool it was that they got to go to Venice and some of those places, and
yes.
it does kind of feel like, yeah, they're kind of shooting their vacation in character, like.
100%. If you listen to I watched some of the behind the scenes, and the guy who plays Mysterio, I can't think of his name right now, but he literally said, "Oh, you're shooting in this, in this country? Sure, I'll do it. I'll do the movie." Like, that's what he said. So I'm sure he was a little bit kidding, but yeah.
And that's when I don't think he was at all, but that's but that's where it feels like they're leaning too much into that like old school college movie thing.
Yeah. Which is weird because they could totally afford to go to all those countries. They don't need to do them. Like, they have enough money to go to those countries. But anyway, my Jake Gyllenhaal, of course he has enough money. He's a millionaire. My next one, much to Cap's chagrin, is New Mutants.
How is it that high?
I agree with everything you said.
How in the world is that high? You just expected to loathe it, and you didn't loathe it. So now it's as high as it is.
Like I said, I agree with everything you said in the beginning. I liked some of the characters. I liked some of the backstory and some of the situations and ideologies that were brought up. Even though it wasn't well done and it wasn't completed, but I mean, I just had something to think about, and I would watch that one again, which is more than I can say about like the last 7 movies. I would be interested to maybe watch that again someday. So it had to be there just because I don't want to watch any of the other ones again.
Guys, we'll try to get into some questions real soon. The next movie on my list is Guardians Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any more to add than what we've said before already about that movie. Clearly, I like it more than DJ does. It also has that how rewatchable is this kind of problem, and I don't like that it leans on the comedy as much as it does, because that first movie balances comedy and drama so well that it's got such natural comedic sensibilities through the dramatic situations. In that movie, it feels a lot of that stuff feels a lot more forced, and I don't know, like, I wouldn't call the brand of humor that first movie had that kind of, or that easy Marvel brand, even though it is a straight up comedy. But also the story just didn't resonate with me in the same way. But it is a lot of fun. I mean, I say that. The ending did. The father-son stuff right at the end of that, I think that's probably why it's as high on my list as it is, because the stuff at the end with Yondu, I think, is perfect. And the first 3 or 4 times I saw that movie, I teared up at father and son every time. I still almost can't help it, but I've seen it enough times now. I don't have that as much, but I was surprised that it had that kind of up Pixar thing where, like, for a while, even knowing what was coming, it was still hitting me in that place. And that's become one of my favorite songs, and I had never heard that before. So it has that. So I couldn't go too much lower than that for that movie.
Yeah, that makes sense that would be at the top of the bottom for you.
Yeah.
Just because you love the first one so much, and so it has to be disappointing to you. But it's also not terrible. All right, let's get into movies that I actually kind of like.
Yeah, sure.
Let's start doing that now. At number 6 on the list. My number 6 is Infinity War. We talked a ton about that movie. I was also on the spoiler cast for that movie, so I won't say anything else about that movie because we've talked ad nauseum about our opinion on this movie, especially to each other off camera. We've talked about this movie a bunch.
I mean, I think it's the better of the two, of course, I say of course. I just say of course because you guys know us and we've said this, but between Infinity War and Endgame, I wish that Endgame had somehow felt more like that movie and was written a little bit more like that. But my next one is Endgame. I am definitely putting Infinity War above Endgame.
Yes. And then, so we can keep talking about this, my number 5 is Endgame.
Sure, so we're right there.
Just barely eked it out. Those were like this. The only reason, because Infinity War is so much about Thanos, and we have issues with that character. It's kind of hard for me to get excited about it. And Endgame, though it has a lot of things that annoy me worse than Infinity War, also has two great endings for the two best characters in the MCU. So it just, I think I'll end up going back to that a little more probably.
That's fair, and I fully agreed with that until I had an unfortunate conversation a week ago with Eric about Captain America at the end of that movie. Because he and I were talking about Falcon Winter Soldier, and he brought up something to me, and we talked about that on the spoiler cast. And I don't know if you've seen that spoiler cast, DJ. He wasn't able to make that show. But real briefly, I'll mention this. Eric brought up a thing I'd never thought of before, which is, Steve goes back in time and decides, after he knows that the universe is not going to be ruined by taking the Infinity Stones out of it, that he can just live his life that he always wanted to with Agent Carter back in the past. Meanwhile, you have this massive social and economical crisis going on after the blip. That's like the worst crisis since World War II, and Steve just takes himself out of the timeline and isn't there to help out. And it's so bad that, at least according to the events of Falcon and Winter Soldier, the world feels like this is a time that it most needs Captain America since World War II. So the government casts one, and they didn't feel the need to do that for the last 70 years. Yeah, Steve's a little selfish. He probably should have stuck around.
And I need to eventually see more than one episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I can see actually what the thing is like.
I don't love that show. I think it's got huge problems, and I was pretty critical of it. So even without that show, if he had mentioned that, I think I would have agreed with that. I never thought of that, but because even if you didn't see that show and see the crisis that happens after the blip, there would have to be one. And I don't buy the crisis that is there. I think it would be very different from the way that show is portraying it.
Yeah, well, if it had kept going the way Far From Home portrays it, then no problem. It's just a joke. But where are we at? We at number 5?
Solar Dragon said Steve let 9/11 happen. Well, that's different, though, because, you can say, anything he went back in time and then didn't prevent, but at that point you're getting into the whole, butterfly effect question and whether or not you should go back in time to change anything. The point Eric's making, the point Eric's making is from, and I don't mean to make his point for him, but he's not here. If, from his own perspective, the present from his own timeline, regardless of the fact that he was in ice, it's not the same thing as time travel, because even though he wasn't around to do anything, he was frozen, but he was still alive. So he is technically the age that he is, right? From his perspective, present day is what happens after the blip. And he cared enough about what was going on in present day to deal with Loki in Avengers and Ultron and Age of Ultron, etc., etc. Why is the blip any different? I'd never thought of that before. And of course, yeah, he wouldn't know exactly what was going to happen, but you could make some guesses.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think he's earned a happy ending. I don't know. I think it's I think he earned a happy ending more than what's his face in Dark Knight Rises.
Well, yeah, but I don't love how that movie ends either.
That's true.
I love the sentiment of it, but as far as in the greater continuity of that universe, I'm not sure that was right. Just of him as a person. Just the more I'm thinking about it, somebody might be able to turn me around on this, but
yeah. Well, he thought that
Eric
Falcon
is very persuasive.
And
just the more I thought about it, he seemed right about it. I'm sorry, what?
I think it just says how highly he thinks of Sam, that he thought Sam was going to be able to completely take his place and it wouldn't cause too much trouble.
That's the argument, yeah, that's a good one.
They're just that close of friends, and he thought so highly of them. But obviously, the show goes a different direction.
We better move on. But now we got ourselves a debate, because that is the argument against what Eric's talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, number 4, and these top 4 are great films. Number 4 for me is Black Panther. Great movie. We talked about it. Third act problems. Just technically is the only reason it gets bumped down. But yeah, great movie. We both loved it.
My 4 is Infinity War, which I do think is a far, far superior film to Endgame. And it finally got Thor just exactly as he should have been, and then Endgame botched him. Like, almost that alone, in my mind, should put Infinity War above Endgame. But, anyway, I don't want to get into all of that again, because we don't have the time. But, yeah, I just want to keep talking about these things now. Anyway, go ahead.
Marvel Mania never ends.
It never ends.
And then my top 3...
It's the commentary series that never ends.
I love all 3 of these movies. My number 3 is Logan. Really, really great movie. I was surprised how much it made me love this movie, because I don't really care about this series, and I'm not a huge like R-rated, like, this is not for me, but it was so well made that it won me over, and I really loved it. So Logan's my number 3.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. When you say you don't care about the series, it's funny because we did some of the X-Men movies together, but like, you never really cared about the Fox X-Men movies?
I only like First Class and Logan.
Oh, wow. God, that changes everything.
I can't be friends with him anymore.
I'm just kidding. That's totally fair. And obviously, I've got some nostalgia glasses when it comes to X2 and stuff, but I still love that film.
I should say I don't hate X2. I like X2, but the only 2 that I go back to now is First Class and Logan.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, you're wrong about Days of Future Past, but fair enough. Spider-Verse is my number 3. I'm gonna assume that's gonna be your 1, but we'll find out.
Well, we're speeding through it, so
yep.
My number 2, love this movie, was in this movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Great movie.
Did I ever mention Homecoming? Homecoming was after Endgame for me. I don't know if that actually came up, but that's where it was. Okay. It was my number 5.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great movie. Sets up the universe perfectly, only to be drop the ball immediately after.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great movie. Again, not exactly what I wanted, but won me over because it's done so well.
My number 2 is Black Panther. I couldn't help but put that above even Infinity War and Endgame. And part of that is, and I don't feel like I necessarily have to be consistent, but I think I still agree with myself from when I did the top 10 of the decade on Rewind. The only Avengers movie I put on that list was Civil War. And I think I still agree with myself on that.
Cool.
And then it was hard not to put Black Panther above those. But I had just, an almost kind of spiritual experience with that movie. I think it's just wonderful. I think it's really poignant, but it's also really super entertaining all at the same time. And it's one of those things that works wonderfully in layers, where if you don't care about the social commentary going on in that movie, it is still really slick and sleek and fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my number 1, speaking of spiritual experiences, you called it, Into the Spider-Verse is my number 1. I absolutely love this movie. It hit me in all the right. It checked all my boxes. It blew my mind, both as a movie and as an artistic piece that inspired me. And I absolutely cannot wait to watch this movie a million times with my kids.
So, I think we both could have called our number 1s without even doing the other 14. My number 1 is Logan, and I could take exactly the reasoning that you just gave for Into the Spider-Verse. Everything except I can't wait to watch it a million times with my kids. Everything else, though, I can copy and paste, I think.
Exactly. It's a great movie. I mean, it's my number 3, and it's, like I said, it's totally not even for me. But it's.
Have you watched it in black and white yet?
I have not. I need to.
Oh, you got to do it. Watching it with you was the first time I'd seen it in color since the theater, and that was weird. I only watched that movie in black and white.
It's weird.
I love it.
It's like watching It's a Wonderful Life in color. It looks weird.
All right, let's go ahead and start taking some questions. We can talk more about our tops, but we're already at 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and start blowing through the super chats and see how quickly we can get to some of your questions, guys. We're not going to call last call already for super chats. So if you have some more questions you want to throw in, we're going to try to be as lickety split as we can, even though we only have about 20 or 15 minutes or so on the show, unless we go 5 or 10 minutes late. We can't go too late because we got After Dark right after this. So and it's going to be a long one. We're going to do about a 3-hour After Dark tonight.
Yeah, we got to get you going so you can get on that. First super chat, T-Edge 1. $10. Thank you so much, man. What are you most looking forward to and most dreading from Marvel Mania Phase 3?
Hard to say because not much of it is out yet. So I mean, that's a lot like saying what are you most dreading that is coming out in the future, right? Like, those are almost the same question. It's hard to say. I mean, if we do the Disney Plus shows like we were talking about, I'm gonna feel really funky about some of Falcon Winter Soldier, and we're gonna have to reassess that when we get there. I don't know if we're doing that at this point.
I don't know. That would take what, 8 weeks? Unless we watch them like 2 at a time or something.
Well, it was 6.
Oh, it was only 6? Okay.
It was 6,
so, yeah.
But you and I said, but we knew how long those were, and you and I said after, see, we shouldn't have done this. We got halfway through WandaVision, we were like, this is great. We should do these for Marvel Mania. And then WandaVision had a, strange kind of clunky ending, and I didn't know how I felt about the rest of the show after that. It dragged it down some. And then Falcon Winter Soldier was this whole other animal. And so, I don't know, man. Like, it's, if everything else after that ends up being, just brilliant and they, or at least fun and watchable and consistent, then I might think differently about it. But at the moment, I don't know if I really want to do those in Marvel Mania.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. If we do those, then I guess, yeah, based on everything I've heard about Falcon Winter Soldier, even though I haven't seen it yet, that's going to be hard to get through maybe a little bit. Venom 2 could be anything. That might be horrible to sit through. That might be one of those sequels that's just like trying to be the first one and terrible, so that could be hard.
Probably but other than that, I'm most dreading is Love and Thunder.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably.
I mean, that's going to be... why'd you have to bring that up? I might not do Phase 3 because that movie exists. You'll have to find a new co-host.
We can't even promise there will be a Phase 3, but...
That might derail the whole thing.
And it'll be a good long time before we get back to it, so who knows what will be happening and what places we'll be in at that point, so...
We'd love to do it, but it's only time will tell.
Yeah. But we didn't know we were going to do this one. I mean, and people were surprised when we brought it up, so...
Yeah. And it was like one of those last minute, we just came up with it on the day and like announced it a couple days later. So
I did an announcement show, which is better than we usually do, because usually we just end up announcing things on shows when we come up with them, because we do all of our business live in front of you guys.
That's true. Luckily we had a conversation off air for that one. John Kelling, now that the second Marvel Mania has come and gone, any plans to do one with DC Comics? Oh, real quick Sorry. TH1 had more to his $10 one. He says, also, are we watching Superman 4 tonight because it's the 10th anniversary of the last episode of Smallville? You're the best.
No, that has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's happening because I thought of an amusing poll a few days ago where I decided to compare those two movies arbitrarily, and then I thought it would be fun to watch them back-to-back. So I just get lucky with these things.
Flying by the seat of our pants, just playing it by ear.
Precisely.
So John Kelling says, now that the second Marvel Mania has come and gone, any plans to do one with DC comic movies, excluding the ones that were already done for Batmania? And the reason I freaked out was because I went back and found all of the suggestions on that one Captain Logan show we did on March 16th, where we asked for Mania suggestions. I don't know if you did that. So I pulled all those, since this is our last big hurrah for Mania, and I can read those a little bit later in the show.
But let's do that. Thanks for coming up with an ending segment. Great idea.
Yeah, one of them was DC Mania, excluding the Batman films. So I don't know if that was the same person that brought it up. That was Bag Studios back then. This is John Kelling, so 2 different people, but same suggestion.
Yeah, tonight our thoughts, like we sometimes do on the Captain Logan show, will be your thoughts.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Not at this time as far as DC goes. We get asked this a lot. A lot of people really want this, I think, just for the sake of completion. And my main worry with it, and I won't talk too long about this because we just talked about this recently, is that there are just too many duds and unfun things that we would have to do on that, and it would be hard to get ourselves excited about it. With the first Marvel Mania, we had good, bad, and everything in between. And this one, there were enough movies that we were excited to do that even though a lot of them were kind of front-loaded, a lot of people won't appreciate this analogy, but a lot like recent They Might Be Giants albums, where they start great, and by the middle, I just don't care anymore. That's what this was like. And with DC, there's just like too many, critically lampooned movies that would just be that over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
so
true.
I don't know. These were kind of more fun to do because I had some new thoughts watching them again, because a lot of these were things I had not seen a bunch of times, and there was a nice
Yeah.
variety with the first set of Marvel Mania, because some of them were recent, some of them were things I'd done a million times, some of them were things that I'd hardly ever seen before, and there was at least one that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And with this and with DC, it wouldn't be as much like that. So I'm not saying like I'm not saying never. I could see myself changing my mind on this eventually, maybe, but at the moment, I just can't get excited about that.
Yeah.
And there are some movies in there that we don't have commentaries for on the channel that we really want to do at some point, like Watchmen. But like,
Oh yeah.
I also think that there's more movies that would be on that list that we already have commentaries for.
That's probably true. Yeah, because you've done all the Superman movies with Oliver, and I'm sure you've done a few other ones here and there.
And Green Lantern, and like a lot of those bad movies we
Yeah.
also have commentaries on, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be kind of just like picking things or doing a lot of things you've already
Daniel
done.
Davis
So,
says
yeah.
real slog. Yeah, I'm surprised as many people want that as they do. Forgive my plumbing, guys.
They just want us to suffer. One more thing that I haven't really talked about. You mentioned that this kind of became a slog halfway through, and it was kind of harder to do. I also did the very unfortunate thing of catching pneumonia halfway through this and picking up this habit of watching really, really good classic black and white, like 30s, 40s, and 50s movies during this. So I've been watching everything else I've been watching besides Mania has been really, really, really good movies. And then I come back to Mania, and in comparison, they're like, ah. So it made it even worse for me, I think, that I've been watching.
That
so
totally
many
throws your perspective. Then like this isn't great for your brain, but at least for the sake of the series and staying enthusiastic about it, your standards get real low.
Yeah, you need to lower them.
You really
Keep
do.
them there until you make it through. But yeah, I mean, I've been watching movies like you just watched Face in the Crowd with me, or not with me, but the other day. It's freaking
It's
brilliant
one
movie.
of the best movies I've ever seen. We have to
Yeah.
talk about it.
You should, man.
We have to. We have to make more people aware of this, because I think it's brilliant. I think it's a nigh perfect film. I've only seen it once, so my mind could be changed about that. But like, there's a class I want to put that in that people their minds would be blown. Like, do I like it? Do I like it better than Citizen Kane? I may like it better than Citizen Kane, and it has a lot to. There's a lot to compare that movie to with Citizen Kane. I think it might out Citizen Kane, which a lot of people think is the best film ever made, and it's wonderful. It's genius. This is definitely in a It's a Wonderful Life kind of category.
Exactly. Like, I'm so glad I sold you on that movie, because I was trying not to say anything because I didn't want to.
I wanted to see it anyway. I'm just glad you reminded me to watch it. Anyway, we got to move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Here's $5 popped in to give us, guessed it, $5. He says, in time, you'll know what it's like to be rich, to feel so desperately poor, then be given all the change. Dread it, run from it. Here's $5.
Okay, so when a guy like that says an ominous speech in that way, I don't know how I feel about donations from him.
It's like you're gonna be cursed when you use his money.
It's really what it sounds like. Yeah.
And no mention of here's $10. So I'm starting to think that's not him. I don't even know if he knows about it. I don't know if he watched that stream.
There was a mention from here's $10 from $5 after this, complaining about here's $10. So he's either playing up the joke, or it is not him, and he is doing his "nobody can steal my shtick."
I hope it's the latter, because that's
we're gonna get there in a minute. Yep, go ahead.
David 22. Will New Mutants be in the top 10 or Ant-Man and the Wasp? No.
On my list, it was neither of those were no. But I think New Mutants was in your top 10.
Oh, was it?
It must have been.
Oh, it must have been, because what's her face was right in the middle.
It was probably 9 or 10. But remember that when you only have 15, the top 10 is not necessarily impressive.
No, it's not a top 10 at all.
Especially if your overall quality is not of a quality.
Yeah, if the only thing I can say about it, if the thing that differentiates it between the last 8 is that I would watch it again, yeah, you don't really want to go by that.
Precisely. All right. What else?
Here's $5. He says, excuse me, but it has just come to my attention in the chat that someone named Here's $10 has unfortunately chosen death. Here's $5. So someone told him about it in the chat. Wow.
I don't think
watch
it's
that
him.
Because you gotta watch that last stream.
Yeah, because if that is actually him, that is a long con right there.
Yeah, I don't get what the goal of the con would be, but that's amazing. Whoever you are, if you're not, here's $5. You've chosen death. so beware. He says, the price doth not matter. This is my shtick. 10 has committed the greatest sin. Did none learn from the dollar war before? I have the high wallet. Oh, he's taking over the stream. He has another one right after that where he says, also, here's $5. Oh, sorry, you're muted. I didn't know you were talking.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. We're going to find out that 10 is, in fact, the loneliest number.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that song choice.
We didn't. That you ever do.
Yeah, that's what Venom should have been singing.
How many more Super Chats do we have?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, let's...
And it has level 1.
Let's rapid fire for 5 minutes, and then whatever we don't get to, we'll do Tuesday. Because we've got to end the show off, and I apologize to everybody. I don't know. It was hard to run through that list as fast as I wanted to, and frankly, we did better than I thought we would. So
pretty good. Here's $5. Also, here's $5 because I finally ran out of room in the super chat for once. Here's $5. So
wow,
he finally did.
This is a monumentous occasion because we have not been able to figure out how he's been able to cram what he gets into a $5 super chat. That's amazing.
I finally ran out of room.
Spectacular. Man. All right, what else?
David22, new title idea for Geekvolution: DC Disappointments.
Oh, it's so negative. I mean, that's part of the reason I don't know how I feel about doing a Marvel Mania-esque thing for DC movies either, where it would just be throwing darts every time, and it would look to people that like some of those movies like we did it on purpose, like we made, and especially if we called it something like that, like that's good alliteration. I'm not saying it sounds bad, like it's a good idea, but for the sake of the context of what the show would be, I just feel like a lot of people would come back at us in the comments, in the comments, especially fans of the DCEU, with a lot of those movies we don't like, and they'd be like, oh, you guys did this just so that you could once again complain about these movies. It's like, no, if I do it, it's almost under duress. I don't even want to do that, at least at the moment.
Oh man, we'll see. Chewbacca's lover, $5. Do you agree with Eric's assertion that certain MCU actors aren't acting but playing themselves and just goofing off on set? Feels like it, honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with Hemsworth recently, and some of them I think have, like with Hulk, have been doing that because they've been told to, and initially they weren't comfortable with it and didn't think it was a good idea, but they're doing what a director told them to. It ends up being sort of the equivalent of, I shouldn't even say this. I was gonna say it's sort of the equivalent of a soldier trying to choose between doing the ethical thing and just following orders, right? It's like, am I just gonna do what the director says, or am I going to refuse to do that for the sake of what I think is artistic integrity? The thing is, as an actor, you don't always know you're right about that. You don't always understand the grander vision of a thing if there is,
especially in the MCU.
Yeah.
Something like that's such a puzzle piece. Chewbacca's lover, Eric is persuasive. He had me convinced Iron Man 2 was the best Marvel film from his review on his old channel. And
he did not have me convinced of that, by the way. When that movie came out and I talked to Eric and he was like, that's the best superhero movie ever made, I was like, I don't think you're going to say that inside of a year.
Yeah, and he didn't, because he liked Avengers more as soon as it came out.
He didn't.
That's funny that Chewbacca's lover, he says he argued with people about it because he was so persuaded by Eric. That's funny.
That is funny.
I hope he used it as an argument too. Like, you don't understand. Eric blows himself up to it on YouTube, said it's the best. It's the best movie. No, I remember Eric loving that movie. That was
I have occasionally seen that, or somebody's sent me a message where it's like, people are arguing with me about a movie I don't like, using the fact that you like it as evidence that it's good. And my response to that is always, what do I know? Like, I think it's good, but like,
it's flattering. I mean, it's a compliment.
What I'm saying is, if I made what you think is a really good persuasive argument about like why something works or doesn't work in a movie, and you want to use it and then give me credit, of course, by all means, but just to go, this Yahoo on YouTube working out of his basement said that this movie is good, so it must be. Oh no, I think you need a little bit more evidence to support your point there.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of like using a reviewer's exact points when we're arguing with someone just because we can't think of anything and we're in the heat of the moment and we're like, I'm just going to use exactly what and just pair it with somebody else.
That's at least better than just going, plink it, I win.
That's true.
And I've
last
seen
super
that.
chat. Last super chat of the night. John Kelling, DC domination. Not negative, vaguely foreboding.
Yeah, here somebody else was suggesting that in the comments earlier. I mean, it sounds okay. It's too foreboding for me. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what I would call that if we even did it. But I don't feel that you're trying to come up with a name for a show I don't think I'm doing. Necessarily. But anyway, Brandon's here for After Dark. I've got an audience now. Anyway,
one quick one from Josh.
Yeah, sure. But again, those both sound good as far as alliteration goes, and they're not too overly goofy or silly or anything. If we were going to do that show, but what I guess the main thing I don't like about it is that these have always been called Mania. And like suddenly we're changing that moniker just because we can't come up with M. Like that's the thing I don't like. Like I would just not do alliteration at that point probably. I don't know if I would say DC. I might come up with something else, but like it's not going to be 2 M's. What are you going to do?
Detective Comania.
Just keep saying stuff like that so that I can be solidified in never doing that show.
Sorry guys. Josh Galisano. $5. Infinity War is great. Definitely my favorite Avengers movie. I wish it had more banger tracks, though.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't need a lot of, like, Guardians, esque, like, classic rock and stuff in that movie. And I think there's a lot of really, really good epic score in that. Is that a score that you've gone back and listened to by itself?
Pieces. I've not listened to the whole thing. Obviously, I listen to... Well, that's Endgame. I was going to say Portals. But yeah, I've listened to pieces. I like when we talked about it, I wasn't a big fan of the score. I thought it was a little too over the top for me, especially when Thanos shows up and it's like, bum, bum, bum. But like, I should go back and listen to some of the more later stuff in that movie.
Jason can't stand that score because he gets really sick of the Avengers theme, and he's getting to the point where the Avengers thing shows up in a non-Avengers movie, because we've been doing that a lot, like it shows up at the end of Captain Marvel and some other things, and Jason just loses his mind. He's like, God, why do I have to keep hearing this music every time?
That's interesting, because, yeah. But yeah, real quick, here's $5.
Real quick.
One day I will meet Captain Logan in person. My identity will be concealed, but I will give him $5 and then walk away. Here's $5. I really hope that happens.
It would be even more amazing if this turned out to be somebody that I knew. Like, I bet it's not, but if it was somebody that either, like, is local that I know or someone that's, like, been on the channel that I've worked with before or something, like, when you said that, immediately I was like, wait, you're right, is it someone I know? Like, I'm sure it's not, but it sounds like he's the, like, YouTube equivalent, or at least the Geekvolution equivalent of the Unknown Comic, where, like, when I finally meet him, he's just gonna have a paper bag over his head. He's like, I'm not gonna take it off. Except the Unknown Comic actually did finally take his bag off, and that was a mistake. He shouldn't have done that. And then nobody cared. It's like, oh yeah, it's this guy. Like, all right, the Unknown Comic is this guy. That is a Gong Show reference. That is like a 40-year-old reference. No one cares. But anyway,
I'm just picturing him showing up in a Raphael trench coat and hat and just like shoving $5 in your pocket and walking away. That would be amazing.
No, but here's $5. Where are you going? I'm going to see a movie. Is that okay with you?
You gotta understand cricket before you understand what a crumpet is.
You gotta know what crumpet is. You strike that right. You gotta know what a crumpet is before you can understand cricket.
We gotta do that. I know you've already
Jose Canseco bad. Did you actually spend money for this?
Anyway, we are done if we're done doing impressions.
We do Turtles Mania. That would go fast. But I've already done all of those.
Speaking of that, you want me to fly through this list of suggestions from March 16th?
I forgot. Sorry. You were going to do that. Yes, real quick. And then we're going to go over to After Dark about 10 minutes after we end here. And we're going to very quickly, just right away, get into the Super Mario Brothers movies. So come hang out with us and watch some not great old superhero and geeky movies with us, would you? Things I've done on Mainline.
So yeah, we asked for these a while ago. A lot of you will probably be in this list because I have your names written down too. Real quick, since we're talking about other manias that potentially might happen, Lewis Cox gave us $2 in the last stream. All he said was, "What about Morphin Mania?" We didn't get it to in the last stream, so I thought this is kind of a good place to talk about it since we're talking about manias anyway. Morphin Mania is kind of in limbo right now. For several reasons. I think Cap's talked about it a few times, but a
lot of it has to do with Power Rangers not streaming anywhere right now.
Mm-hmm. Makes it difficult because we want people to be able to follow along with us. So That's never say never. That will probably likely come back if that ever gets picked up.
What else is on that list?
We got Dimwit Monkey, Godzilla Mania, which is a pretty substantial list of films. Rohith Dahar, Supermania, which is all the Superman movies, live action and animated. Bag Studios with Transformers Mania, Cinematographic.
For the record, that will never ever happen.
Marketing it off the list.
It's just not going to happen.
Cinematographic. And
Here's $5 cannot give me enough $5. It's not going to happen.
Some of these are clearly jokes. That one probably. Cinematographic Mission Mania, Mission Impossible. Bag Studios TMNT Mania, Daniel Davis Tasmania. I don't know.
That's hilarious. Tasmania Mania would be you go through that series, that cartoon.
It's pretty great. Thank you, Daniel Davis. Jan Hendrik van der Merwe, Zack Snyder Mania, JK.
I hope that's a joke. I don't know. The thing is, when it's that small, I don't know if we would even use the Mania moniker. Like, we've never done a 5 or 6 movie Mania like that.
Yeah.
I would like to. Rasco and I for years have kicked around doing the Rocky movies, and I'm hoping that still happens. He hasn't been on the channel in a long time, but we still occasionally talk about that. And I wouldn't call that Rocky Mania.
Yeah, although that's getting to be up there at this point.
Well, that's true. There's 8.
9.
Yeah, there's going to be 9. 8, yeah. There's 8 right now. Yeah.
Bag Studios, I already mentioned, non-Batman DC Mania. Stephen Murphy, Disney Mania.
Mario Mania would be a movie and some cartoon shows. Anyway.
Stephen Murphy, Disney Mania and Pixar Mania. Disney Mania, actually, both of those would take a long time at this point because Pixar's getting up there too.
I mean, Pixar you could throw in with Disney, and it would be the length. It would be longer than Marvel Mania put together right now, but that is actually the next thing that has enough movies that would make sense to do that with. But I wouldn't be comfortable doing every Disney movie there is, just because a lot of those I don't know real well, and there's a lot of stuff that nobody would care about and stuff like that. But
yeah, and he was just talking about animated films, but yeah, that's still a lot of movies. Sheldy Henron, TV Mania, pilots for superhero TV series.
We've kicked that around. That's one we've talked about.
Cool. Dimwit Monkey, Air Bud Mania, LOL. No. Christian Ogden, Steven Spielberg Mania, and Matthew Bass Video Game Mania.
Video Game Mania almost happened, and that's one that I would still be potentially interested in, although DJ and I, it would make no sense whatsoever for the two of us to do that. To do those movies. I mean, Eric's not a big video game guy. I don't know how much sense it was going to make with Eric either, but we were going to do it. So I don't know. It could happen, but those are a couple of those are things we've kicked around in good ideas. Some of those are really amusing jokes, and some of them are things I wouldn't mind doing commentaries on, but I wouldn't use the Mania moniker for them. Folks, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you had a good time. We certainly did. Join us again next Tuesday for another commentary, but not a Marvel Mania. And DJ, should we announce what we're doing, or do you want to keep it a surprise?
I don't immediately remember what we're doing. Is it the commentary?
It was, yes, we're doing a commentary.
Okay. Yeah,
it was your pick, and I want to go ahead and get it knocked out before it's even more irrelevant than it is now.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
We're gonna do the 95 More Combat movie.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's silly and goofy, and we both watched. It's a part of both of our childhood, so that'll be a fun one.
It's gonna be great. We're excited about it. Anyway, so that is. At least the plan is to do that Tuesday. I'm looking over. Jason's over here, and I'm just remembering that Jason wanted to be on that commentary, and if we do it that day, he might not be able to be there. So that may be a day. We'll talk about it. We'll kick it around.
That's coming soon.
We are gonna do a commentary on that movie soon. Tuesday will probably be a commentary, but it may be a Captain Logan show. The more I'm thinking about it, I don't know. We'll be back on Tuesday for a show. As far as the me and DJ stuff goes, on Sunday, Austin and I are going to be doing the second season of The Simpsons. So if you enjoyed that first video, or you really like The Simpsons, pop in for that. We've been having a lot of fun putting that together and talking about it. So it should be a blast. Anyway, thanks again for watching. In about 10 minutes after this, we're gonna go to Patreon and do an unlisted live show watching the Super Mario Brothers movie and Superman 4. If we don't all fall asleep by the time we get to Superman.
Real
4.
Quick about that, TH1 gave us a super chat to say, is Mario streaming anywhere?
It's not, as far as I know. I have it on disc. And that's why I posted about it yesterday in case people needed to find a way to get it. It might be, I'm sure it's rentable somewhere. But yeah, this might backfire. This might be the worst idea ever. If nobody's able to watch it with us, we'll just pick something else, or we'll just do Superman 4. It's getting late enough that may have to happen, but that's the plan right now. If this doesn't work out, we'll just do something. We'll just do one movie, and it'll be fine. We'll have a good time whatever we do.
Cool. It's gonna be fun.
Here's $5. Threw in a couple more super chats. He said the Jose Canseco bat thing as well, and he quoted it correctly. And then, Cap, let me know if your children put teeth under their pillows at night. They're just asking for $5. Here's $5. It's really funny you say that because Jason just put a tooth under his pillow. And now, being right over here, he's going to expect $5. So thanks very much to you. Really appreciate that. Yes, Jason, the Tooth Fairy is real. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you again soon. I was Captain Logan. This was DJ of the Martinezes.
Oh, it was fun, guys. I had a great time doing the show. Thanks for watching. We will see you with our next crazy, zany adventure.
And DJ, thanks so much for doing all those movies with me, man.
Oh, it was great. Even the bad ones.
It was just wonderful. It was one of the best things we've done, so I really appreciate you. Okay, we'll be